She arrived in Tokyo early in the afternoon, a mix of excitement and curiosity bubbling within her as she stepped off the train. Her hotel, a small and modest building, was tucked away on a quiet street near Minami-Senju Station. It wasn't glamorous, but it was clean, simple, and affordable. As she approached the front desk, the receptionist gave a polite smile and handed her the key to her room. But there was something unsettling in the woman's eyes, a distant, almost knowing look that she couldn't shake. She tried to brush it off, thinking it was nothing more than her imagination. She was eager to settle in, unaware that this seemingly ordinary hotel would become the setting for one of the most unsettling experiences of her life. The next morning, she awoke feeling groggy, still adjusting to the time difference. As she got out of bed and reached for her slippers, she froze. They weren't where she had left them. One was turned sideways and the other faced the opposite direction. A chill ran down her spine, and for a moment she wondered if she had moved them herself in her sleep. But no, she was certain she hadn't. She checked the rest of the room. Everything else seemed in order, but that small detail gnawed at her. Had housekeeping been in? But no, she had declined the service. She shrugged it off, convincing herself it was just a mistake. Still, a nagging unease lingered. Over the next few days, the pattern continued. Every morning, she'd wake up to find her slippers out of place, always facing the wrong way. The unease she felt grew, like something or someone was watching her. She asked the hotel staff if they had cleaned her room. They assured her they hadn't, as she had opted for no housekeeping. It didn't make sense. Her mind raced. Was she losing her mind, or was something in that room playing tricks on her? That's when the temperature in the room began to drop, even in the middle of the day. She couldn't ignore it any longer. One evening after dinner, she approached the front desk and asked the receptionist if there was anything strange about the hotel. At first, the receptionist didn't answer, her face blank. Then she glanced around nervously before lowering her voice. "She is thirsty," the woman whispered. A chill crawled up her spine. The receptionist explained that the hotel was built on land with a dark history. An old woman had died long ago in a nearby well, and she was said to haunt the hotel, searching for offerings to quench her unearthly thirst. The staff knew the rules. Leave sake and sweets by the window at night. She didn't know what to think, but the eerie tone in the woman's voice made her feel an odd obligation to try it. That night, she followed the receptionist's instructions. She placed a small bottle of sake and some sweet rice cakes by the window, feeling an unsettling stillness in the room as she did so. The air felt thick, as if it were holding its breath. She sat in the darkness, waiting, wondering if anything would happen. But the night passed in silence. She fell into an uneasy sleep. For the first time since she'd arrived, there was no strange sensation, no disturbance. Maybe this was the answer. But as she drifted off, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was still lurking, watching her. The following day, after a long walk through the city, she returned to the hotel, exhausted. Her offering slipped from her mind, and that evening, she substituted the sake with green tea, thinking it would suffice. As she placed the tea and sweets by the window, a strange sense of dread washed over her. She waited for the night to pass, but then she heard it, a soft, muffled giggle like a child's laugh coming from the walls. Her blood ran cold, the air grew thicker, and she felt an invisible weight on her chest, as if something was pressing down on her. She tried to convince herself that the exhaustion was getting to her. But the longer she lay there, the more she felt that something wasn't right. The silence in the room was unnatural, as though it was too still to be real. When her eyes flicked toward the dim corner of the room, she saw it. Something moving, stretching, twisting in the shadows. A faint figure stood just beyond the light, her presence barely noticeable at first. She couldn't make out the face, but the figure's long white dress billowed as if it had a life of its own, and her hair, It was long, black, and wild. Her heart pounded in her chest. She shut her eyes tightly, hoping that when she opened them again, it would be gone. But when she did, the figure was closer now, stronger, colder. A chill wrapped around her, creeping up her spine, suffocating her. She could feel the weight of the stare, even though there were no visible eyes. The room seemed to drop in temperature. Every breath she took felt distant and wrong, as if it wasn't hers to breathe. The presence in the room refused to fade. A whisper cut through the silence. At first, she wasn't sure if she had imagined it. But then the whisper came again, louder this time, clear enough to make her blood run cold. Thirsty. The word was drawn out like a hiss from the very air itself. The sound burrowed under her skin, making her freeze. Her heart raced, pounding in her ears. Her mouth went dry, and the air in the room felt suffocating, wet, as though someone had exhaled a cold, damp breath into her face. She turned slowly toward the corner, but it was empty. Still the presence lingered, as if just out of sight. The temperature in the room dropped even further, and she saw her breath fogging in the air despite the warmth from the heater. She realized then she wasn't alone. The morning light filtered through the thin curtains, but it offered no comfort. Her eyes were dry and her body felt like lead, heavy, sore, as if she had been running all night. Every joint ached and every breath felt shallow. She sat up slowly, her back still tense, her head pounding from the lack of real sleep. The room was eerily quiet, too quiet. She glanced around, empty. But the unease, that weight in the air, hadn't lifted. Her eyes drifted to the window ledge. The tea she had set out the night before was cold now, untouched. The sweets she had placed beside it, gone. The tea had been rejected. Her eyes locked onto the single rice cake left on the tray, cracked in half, its surface covered in dust. She knew then, deep down, the offering hadn't worked. She hadn't calmed the spirit. If anything, she had angered it. Desperate for answers, she returned to the hotel front desk and approached an older woman working at the front desk. The woman studied her for a long moment, as if she had already known what she would ask. "You've seen her, haven't you?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, and the woman leaned closer, sharing a chilling tale. She spoke of a thirsty ghost, a spirit who roams, searching for more than just water. She craved life itself. The woman warned her to visit the shrine behind the hotel for guidance. Determined to find answers, she made her way up the moss-covered steps of the old mountain shrine. The air grew colder with each step, and the higher she climbed, the heavier the silence became, as though something was waiting for her to leave. At the top, the shrine stood in eerie stillness. There were no offerings, no incense, only cracked fox statues, their eyes empty. The offerings in the box were strange, small bottles of water and teacups half filled, dried up and coated with mold. A wooden plaque caught her eye. The faded kanji read, "For the one who thirsts, do not forget her." As she took in the scene, a faint splash echoed behind her, as if something had dropped into water. When she turned, there was nothing but the gently swaying trees. Her water bottle began to leak. Something had punctured it from the inside. It dawned on her. She wasn't alone. She couldn't stay another night in that room. The oppressive fear weighed down on her as she packed her things. But she couldn't shake the feeling that the woman was still there, watching. As she neared the hotel entrance, she froze. There, by the door, the woman stood, waiting. Her long black hair clung to her pale face, her white dress trailing behind her like a death shroud. She stood motionless, her gaze locked on the young woman's face. Her presence filled the room, suffocating it. There was no more time to waste. She had to leave. Fear surged through her, urging her to run. She bolted through the hotel lobby, not daring to look back at the still figure by the door. But once outside, the night air hit her like a slap, a cold, sharp breeze that seemed to pull her backward. As she ran, she knew with the sick certainty that the woman was following her. No matter how fast she moved, she could feel her presence just behind her. And when she dared to glance over her shoulder, there she was, standing at the end of the street, watching her, always watching. Weeks have passed since she left the hotel, but the feeling of being watched never quite fades. At night, she hears faint creaks and whispers, and sometimes she wakes to find things moved around her, just as they were before. She wonders if she will ever be truly free. The darkness still lingers, something unspoken, waiting for her in the corners of her mind. And she hopes, wherever that woman is, she's finally found what she was searching for.